Hi, Chris McClune here with Fire Apparatus and Emergency Equipment. Welcome to this edition of our podcast. Today we're going to be talking about PPE care. With me today is Jesse Moy. He is the Senior VP of Sales at Groves Incorporated. Jesse, thank you very much for joining me today. We're going to be talking about some NFPA 1850 stuff. For those who don't know, NFPA 1850 combines a couple of standards that covered the care for our PPE. It also covers SCBA now, but we're going to be focusing mainly on the turnout gear today. And Jesse, I guess just to get us started, I'll go in that NFPA 1850 vein. So how is the new NFPA 1850 standard for care and maintenance changing the way departments approach PPE cleaning and decontamination?
Great question, Chris. And thanks again for having me on. Yeah, NFPA 1850 is actually combining two other standards, 1851 and 1852, which, as we know, 1851, care and maintenance of PPE, 1852, care and maintenance of SCBA. So they're trying to combine these two, streamline it, make it a little bit more understandable for fire departments. And they've made some adjustments. Some of the most notable things that have been added to the new standard going into next year will be every fire department will have to have a PPC manager, somebody who basically manages the PPE program within the fire department. And then you're also going to have a PPC technician. This is somebody that's going to be trained on cleaning and repairing and tracking turnout gear. Okay.
Jesse, you mentioned the technician and the person who is supposed to be overseeing the entire program. What are some things that departments should be looking at for designing or upgrading their own cleaning and decontamination facilities beyond that personnel?
Sure. So one of the big things for fire departments when they're looking at building a new station or even, renovating the current one they have is making sure that, you have certain zones in your fire department. You have a hot zone, you have a warm zone, you have a cold zone. Basically, when a firefighter comes back from a fire, you want to travel in a certain pattern through the fire department. That way you're not tracking contaminants all over it. And then as you get in, nothing goes into, the cold zone or the clean zone until everything's been, washed and decontaminated, and nothing turns around and goes back the same way, right? So you want to have the right equipment in place, whether it's for the extractors, then to the drying, and then to the storage, all in that order.
Why is it so important to use science-based decontamination products when it comes to reducing firefighters' exposure to carcinogens and other toxins?
So basically, a lot of the soaps and detergents that you would find, say, at your local grocery store on the shelf out there just aren't designed to remove a lot of those cancer-causing contaminants that firefighters are being exposed to, when they're going out to a fire. Okay, you need a scientifically based cleaner, detergent, soap that can break down those contaminants and make sure that they're properly removed from your gear without actually, compromising, the safety of the gear as well. And Groves has come out with their own soaps and detergents. Our Decon Ready is specifically designed to do that. It meets the NFPA standards, and it helps to remove all of your three classes of cancer-causing contaminants, your hydrocarbons, your heavy metals, your PFAS, your VOCs, all of those things.
We talked about 1850, and that kind of sets everything up for kind of a guide to follow when we're setting up our PPE care programs. We've talked a little bit about the facilities themselves at the stations and those different cold zones, and of course, we've now talked about some of the decontamination products that are out there. Now let's talk about how to put all that together. Now that we're in the room, to put this together and start decontaminating some of the gear, let's talk about some of the equipment there. And I'm talking about, pre-programmed extractors, advanced drying cabinets. How do those things help departments maintain compliance while also improving efficiency and extending gear life?
So pre-programmed extractors or even pre-programmed dryers, what they do is they take the guesswork out of it for the firefighter or the chief, right? So even all the equipment that Groves Incorporated offers, our extractors are pre-programmed to meet the NFPA standards. The dryers are programmed the same way. So that way, when they come in, when you get them, they're designed to be able to decontaminate and wash properly and also dry properly. One of the changes that you'll see in the new 1850's standard is they've actually raised the temperature for washing gear and also for drying gear from 105 Fahrenheit to 120 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, the great thing about the products that Groves Incorporated ReadyRack offers is the programmability in both of the extractor and the dryers, okay? So we can actually program our washers with our new smart washers, that is, to meet the new 120 degree Fahrenheit temperature. So the water that's coming into your washer will be set at 120. Our drying cabinets also, we can program them to be 120 degrees Fahrenheit. So when you get your drying cabinet at your front door, you plug it in, it's already at the full efficiency to meet the new standard. But Chris, what's to say, they do a revision on the standard every 5 years. Who's to say in 2030, 5 years from now, they don't amend that and change that again. And they say, you know what, we got to bring it back down to 105 again. Or what if they go the other direction and they say, hey, we've done the testing, we can bump the 120 up to 130 degrees. What's great about our smart washers and our smart dryers is that they can be reprogrammed in the field in seconds or minutes, okay? So we can reprogram it to bump it up, move it down. So you're always going to stay compliant with whatever the current standard is and getting the most efficiency out of your equipment.
That field programmability, when you say that, is that by a Groves representative, or is that something that the people you described in the beginning of the podcast who are in charge of the whole program, is that something they can do, or is it something that someone from Groves needs to come out and complete?
It can be done both ways. It's a program that we'll set up when that time comes. But everything at this moment that leaves our place is programmed to the highest efficient setting that the NFPA standards are allowing.
Okay. And, when we talk about programmability and things like that, we're talking about technology, so now we have a certain degree of technology built into our extractors, into our drying cabinets. Looking ahead, we just talked about 2030, but looking ahead, how do you see technology and education continuing overall to shape fire health and wellness initiatives across the fire service?
You know what, if you go back 25 years ago to when NFPA 1850 first came out to where we are now, I think we're only scratching the surface of what technology can do. As going forward, I think people are coming out and looking at different ways to, either upgrade equipment or come out with new equipment to better fight. What we know is the number one, cause of death in the industry is, cancer, right? So as we keep learning and educating ourselves, I think things will get better, but, if the education part behind it too is, if nobody teaches anybody or nobody listens to how to do these things, then, it's all for naught. So we got to keep advancing, keep teaching and keep moving forward.
That education piece, I think, is really important because, that really, if you look at just, we'll say the past 15 years in terms of awareness of the toxins that are out there that can impact us, the awareness that, sort of how we treat things now will impact, our potentially impact, our quality of life later in life as we're getting into those sunset years, we're retiring. We don't want to be looking back and saying, geez, I really should have done this, or I should have done that. I should have taken better care of my gear, to reduce my exposure to these things. But that really is a key. I think that education component, because, but now what this is just me talking, what we're looking at, is how, not only to raise the awareness that these carcinogens exist, that they are in the gear, that we need to remove them, but that science-based component, how that how that really has a lot to do with, you can't just use dish soap or laundry soap, to remove these things. It does need to be specific so that it is going after, certain particles and reducing, the number of them. So really, that education piece has to take, even another step forward. We've got the awareness. We know that these problems exist. We know that we need to do everything we can to reduce that exposure. But what we don't always know is the science behind it and how some of these newer products can really help as we get into those sunset years.
Chris, great point. One of the products in our Decon Ready line from Groves is our foaming skin cleanser. Okay, it does things that regular soaps just won't do. Okay, like I was saying earlier, regular soaps aren't designed to remove a lot of those microscopic contaminants that you can't see with the naked eye. All right. It'll get your grease and your grime and your dirt and your soot off, but it's not getting those microscopic contaminants like the heavy metals and such. Right. Our foaming skin cleanser has scientifically been designed to do just that. You can stand at your sink all day long with your favorite bar of soap, wash your hands until the cows come home. You're not going to remove a lot of those microscopic contaminants. And when you go home to your family at the end of your shift, if you were in a fire earlier that day, you could potentially be bringing those contaminants home with you to your family, to your young daughter, to your young son. It takes a very small amount of contaminants to make a child sick. So what we like to do, even, here at Groves Incorporated, from our detergents and our foaming skin cleansers, and we even have a surface cleaner that removes all those contaminants from hard surfaces as well. We can use our detergent actually for preliminary gross decon out on the scene to spray down a firefighter or their equipment before they get back on the truck, to coming back to the station with our pre-programmed NFPA extractors and our detergent that goes in it, to then drying the gear after it's done correctly, to washing up with our foaming skin cleanser before you go home. We have you covered at every single phase from the fire scene all the way until you go home to your family.
Well, Jesse, I want to thank you for taking some time out today to talk to us about this stuff. Before I let you go, are there any general comments you have about what we talked about? Maybe just about NFPA 1850 and its importance. Anything about the equipment and the detergents we talked about? Anything else to add?
I'm just excited that NFPA is consistent, constantly evolving, and we're still learning, right? And as we keep going down this road to try to, help, the safety of firefighters, which is really the main goal, I'm just really looking forward to seeing what comes next. And Groves Ready Rack is really happy to be a part of that.
If any of the audience would like to learn more about what we've talked about with the extractors, the drying cabinets, the detergents, or even the skin cleanser you just talked about, how can they do that?
They can visit our website, www.readyrack.com, or give us a call. We go to all the major trade shows. We also sell all of our products through all the major fire equipment distributors. So we're pretty easy to find.
All right, perfect. Well, Jesse, again, my thanks to you for sitting down with me to talk about this today. All of our podcasts, as I've said before, are archived at www.fireapparatus.com/podcasts. If you have any questions that you'd like me to get answered from Jesse, please let me know. I'm at chris.mcclune@clarion-events.com. And if there's a topic on PPE we haven't hit on yet that you'd like to see more about, please, again, let me know. So, again, my thanks to Jesse for sitting down with me today. Have a good one, everyone, and stay safe. Thanks again, Jesse.
Thanks, Chris. Take care, everybody.